This is a video that I've been meaning to do for quite some time, especially after 2.4 gave me 3 fresh examples. Welcome to all the crimes against children in Genshin Impact, also known as the funniest moments in all of Genshin's history, given that the age rating of this game is 12 years old. No crimes of child will be covered in this video. Disclaimer: these are events that have happened in Genshin Impact's story, and this is just a compilation of those moments. I also understand that Genshin Impact will have more child sacrifices, labors, and crimes against children, given that characters like the Fatui still exist, so please keep in mind that this video will not be updated fully in the future. I may have also missed some points, just like how dottore probably missed some children in Mondstadt. The very first feature of children being abused happens in the first page of the first chapter of Genshin Impact's first visual manga, so you know that the franchise is rated 12. In the manga, dottore's division has been abducting children from across Teyvat to put them into the unknown ring known as Heresies. When the manga panel opens, we are met with the corpse of a young boy with white hair and a large tentacle creature in the center of the room. These children were put into an arena for numerous people to watch and to spectate as they fight for their lives. We are told that this is one of hundreds of victims that have been killed by these creatures. The perpetrator of such experiments was a person by the name of Dr. Krupp. Additionally, the Fatui specifically requests from the Knights of Favonius to send children to Snezhnaya. Dr. Krupp lies and says that it is so that they can be trained to be strong warriors under the Fatui program. Diluc and Kai remark that these children never return to their families. These operations were seemingly stopped when Diluc attacked Dr. Krupp to find information about the missing children, but dottore was able to intervene before Krupp could give any information. This means that dottore's little funny farm is still functional. Speaking of funny farms, Heresies wasn't the only pit. This one is less funny, however, and more scientific in all regards. There is a facility in Sumeru that preys on unsuspecting victims to inject them directly with a substance known as Archon residue. Archon residue is allegedly the substance of delusions and can give a person waking nightmares, psychological torment, and really cool abilities. Klee was one of the children exposed to these experiments, and was only during the intervention of Sino and the Knights of Favonius that they were able to subdue the effects. Now, it was never guaranteed if this atrocity was only targeting children like the first one, but if it isn't just the children, then Aster will immediately delete this point from the video. Speaking of not just children, the next one isn't necessarily just children either. We have a bonus of old people being involved in the catastrophe. The council suggested against putting this in the list, but because there was a frame of a child, it will be included. The Children of Morata are a tribe of warriors from Natlan known for their red hair. In the Genshin Impact prologue, we see that they fled from their tribe to Mondstadt after being terrorized by Ursa the Drake. When they arrived in Mondstadt, however, they were sold as slaves to the aristocracy. The Lawrence clan purchased them as slaves, but they were not going to be used for labor. A few days later, after they were bought, Vanessa, a warrior of the tribe and now currently known as the Falcon of the West, challenged the aristocracy for their freedom. But it was a trap, as they were all only about to be sacrificed to Ursa the Drake as a tribute by the aristocracy to preserve the peace of Mondstadt. It was unsure if the children left in peace or in pieces. It is rumored by Liyue that the spirits of the dead lurk within the woods of Wuwang Hill. They roam the perimeter of the decrepit village, wandering among the withering trees and rotting foliage, eternally yearning for things left unresolved in living years. These floating spirits often entice unsuspecting passerbys away from the main path and onto treacherous mountain tracks that led them into the tumbling river. But Wuwang Hill was not always this way. Some signs of life remained there up until relatively recently, and in times bygone, the village at the foot of the slope enjoyed a peaceful existence. There is a fable that is often repeated among the children of Hiki Village. It holds that the young people of Wuwang Hill, enchanted by the whale-like song of a faraway sea monster, all threw themselves into the gently flowing Baishu River in pursuit of false promises and childlike dreams. You do not recognize the bodies in the water. In a lost story of Liyue long ago, there lived a small village in the area of Ho. A family of exorcists lived in the village. However, the wife became sick with a mysterious disease. Stricken by grief, the father stole a book that told of instructions on how to summon a god and offer a sacrifice. The god appeared, and the father said that he was willing to sacrifice his life for his wife. But the god only pointed at his daughter and demanded her to be sacrificed instead. The god said that her fate was to bear the curse of calamity and that she was prone to bring harm to those around her. The god said that she might have been the one to cause the wife's death. The father abandons her in a cave to be sacrificed to the evil god. In the island of Surumi, there was a civilization lost to time that worshipped Kanakapatsir, better known as a thunderbird or the bird of the thundering fury lore. The vast majority of the island was known to be covered in fog, but after venturing and completing the story quest, the island becomes visible. Thousands of years ago, they would perform ceremonies in honor of the Kanakapatsir. However, that all changed when a boy named Ru was sacrificed to the thunderbird. Ru enjoyed singing to the thunderbird, and the thunderbird appreciated the boy's tunes despite not caring for the civilization. However, Ru was not intimidated by the god and talked to her, but the island situation was worsening, and as a final desperate attempt, the elders decided to sacrifice Ru to the thunderbird to help the situation. It did not. Ru let himself be sacrificed, and thus his blood flowed through the altar. Kanakapatsir saw this and was angered, deeming the sacrifice as the death of an innocent mortal. She destroyed the island and cursed the people to repeat the cycle of destruction for all of eternity. Numerous villages suffered during the battles of the Sakoku Decree, and one of the most affected villages was Hiki Village. During the war, Orobashi cultists destroyed the shrines that protected the inhabitants of the village. The residents slowly succumbed to the effects of the newly released Tatsurigami and began descending into madness. The chief of the village was known as Washizu. When completing the world quest Sinister Instructions, you see that Washizu was hearing the words of Orobashi himself, or at least was deluding himself to believe that. During this time, Washizu began sacrificing the remaining villagers in the name of Orobashi. Among these are the following: Tarajiro, 13 years old, took ill and died. Gin, 12 years old, took ill and died. Senshiro, 4, returned to the oneness. The mysterious land of Enkanomiya is home to the civilization of the past. The land is home to a world untouched by the 7 Archons. This is where the civilization of the Watatsumi Island came from, and where the creatures before Celestia resided. However, there came a time where humanity's greed had finally eaten them alive. The land of Enkanomiya was once shrouded in ultimate darkness. The people were fearful of the Dragonair of the depths, and the land was known as the Land of Night. However, the god of time, Istaroth, felt pity for the people of Byakuyakoku and told a sage named Abarax to construct the Dainichi no Mikoshi. But a cabal of corrupt nobles manipulated the people of the Byakuyakoku into worshipping the Dainichi as a god. They would even install a puppet ruler that was allegedly a child chosen by the Dainichi no Mikoshi. This was known as the Sun Child. However, because these sun children were just puppet rulers, the nobles feared that there will come a day that they would oppose the corrupt nobles. Hence, when the children came of age, they would attend the Rite of Solar, in which they would be taken to the inner sanctum of the Dainichi no Mikoshi. The child will return to the sun, or better known as incinerated by the artificial sun's high temperatures and becoming a fresh chicken nugget. There have been a total of 7 sun children. A plant species that grows in certain regions and islands of the ocean is known as the sea Ganoderma, better known as that thing that kaedehara kazuha mains get. There are half 200 of them. Though it looks like a sort of fungus, it actually comes from a substance secreted by certain soft-bodied organisms. In the folk tales told in a certain land, these mouthless, noseless creatures are the transformed souls of children who died young. As a form of punishment, they must spend endless years absorbing the elements within the sand and sea, using their fragile bodies, piling them up, and forming sea Ganoderma. and once the Ganoderma are fully formed, they shall be harvested. I believe it's a good idea to end this video on a high note, and for that, I will be returning to the Fatui Harbingers. Snezhnaya, as the nation of benevolence in the Tsaritsa's grace, has a special facility catered to giving those without a home or family shelter. Lord Arlecchino is in charge of the Fatui Daycare. This was an orphanage he set up to raise and indoctrinate children from across the world to the loving care of the Fatui. Due to the children being orphans, allegedly, Arlecchino assigns them surnames. These surnames identify their loyalty to the Tsaritsa and the Harbinger, who have lovingly given them a home, a roof over their heads, and a new family. Not all children in this world are child sacrifices. Some are child soldiers. Soldiers that will not live for long because I need insignias.